You know, Don, it was 14 months ago that we were talking about the attempted assassination of your father by a shooter who got on a rooftop in a place he never should have been allowed to take a shot that was fatal for one man in the audience and was almost fatal for your dad. What do you make of the fact that Charlie, who was as cognizant as any of us of the dangers of that day and how close your dad came to being killed in that way, wound up dying in the exact same way by a different assassin's bullet?
It's just sick. I mean, you know, and Charlie knew the threat. I mean, I know you, I'm sure, deal with it. I know I've dealt with it, and I've had, you know, I think it was, you know, in the first term, I was number 2 most threatened person, you know, according to the Secret Service in government. You know, we deal with these things every day. Charlie was well aware, but that was never going to stop him. And I think his faith, I mean, he was a true believer. He believed he was being, you know, handled by God to do what was right for our country, and there was nothing that was going to stop him. I mean, you know, he had a security detail, but there's only so much you can do. Like I said, they almost killed the presumptive nominee of the Republican Party during a presidential election, and allowed that to happen. So you can take a lot of precaution, but you can't do everything. And I think this shows us, you know, no one's there to protect you. No one's going to save you. A big part of the whole conservative ethos, and certainly Charlie, you know, that individualism, you have to learn how to take care of yourself. You have to be able to do that. And I think his faith got him through that each and every day, because he understood the threat. He knew it. One of the last events I did with Charlie before the election, you know, we were in Arizona, which again, I think, you know, him and his team at Turning Point single-handedly won for us. We were doing events all over the place, and you know, there was, you know, we got a deranged letter about a threat to me at some event that we were doing. It was going to be basically a, you know, BYOB. It was bring your own ballot, not booze. Although I imagine there was probably some drinking because it was, you know, a college campus event. And I was like, we're going anyway. And you know, it turns out at the last minute, I guess they caught the guy, and you know, before the event. But you know, these things were a regular occurrence. You know, these kinds of threats where they're literally threatening, you know, our lives or anyone that's effective. You know, they've shown that. You know, this isn't the bullshit that I see. Oh, well, it's violence from both sides. No, it's not. It's not violence from both sides, Megyn. It's violence coming from the left, created by the left. When you call someone a Nazi, when you call them a fascist, when you call them a dictator, and you say they're the greatest threat to democracy, you know, every one of us has been the greatest threat to democracy, depending on, you know, if they're leading the news cycle that day. You know, each and every day, they enabled this. They created it. It's not both ways. It's one way. And if it's not them calling us those things, it's their silence, like we saw from that just young Ukrainian woman just stabbed for no reason on the bus in the Carolinas 2 weeks ago. Absolute silence about it because it didn't go for the narrative. You know, rather than talking about a 14-time repeat offender who literally slit someone's throat on a bus, sitting there on her phone, minding her business. You know, guys like Charlie, you know, myself, you know, we talk about these things. We bring it up. And that puts us in their crosshairs, quite literally. You know, I loved your open monologue about, you know, sort of the transgender bullshit. You know, I've been talking about it for a long time, and that's where those threats are coming from. And you're 100% right, Megyn. Like, think about per capita. I can't name, including probably like Al-Qaeda and the Taliban, a group that is more violent per capita than the radical trans movement. Yep. I mean, when you think of the mass killings, when you think of this, each and every one, and I'm sure there's plenty that we don't even know about because they wouldn't release the manifesto like they didn't, you know, in Wisconsin,
Nashville.
Or they refuse to do it because you're not allowed to talk about the truth, you know, because, I mean, I'm sure it's totally normal. I'm sure people are totally sane after jacking themselves up on hormones given to them by some, you know, rainbow-haired freak doctor because, you know, they think men can somehow magically become women. You know, I'm sure it has nothing to do with that, Megyn. It can't possibly, right? That wouldn't be convenient. It wouldn't be nice. But the reality is, you know, we've seen they're not willing to be nice. Again, the violence is only going one way. You know, Charlie, again, probably the kindest soul I know in politics, the least radicalized. He was just, again, effective because he was able to use his words so well. But to the left, words are violence, as we've heard so many times, because it doesn't suit their agenda, which I don't know what it is, actually. I mean, the irony of this is, you hear the stuff that they're saying, and it's like, just people they're absolutely insane. It's not like there's moderate Democrats anymore. I'm sure there are in Middle America some moderate Democrats, but they certainly have no representation in Congress or the Senate because, you need the crazy California or New York money, to fund those things, and therefore they never actually get there. So I believe there's moderate Democrat voters. I don't believe there's any moderate Democrats anymore. And, frankly, that's evidenced by some of the craziness and the insanity that we saw coming out of MSDNC yesterday and CNN, and blaming Charlie. He's to blame for this. I mean, he's to blame for this. It is truly sick. And
it's everywhere. It's still going. I have no tolerance for what's happening on Blue Sky with these lunatics. I am going to play one stop for you. It's of Jen Psaki having a conversation with Senator Mark Kelly. Here's just a bit.
But he put out a 4-minute video, and I'm not going to play the video. I don't want to play the video. But there was a line at the end that I think I just wanted to raise and read. At the end of this 4-minute video, he says, "For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now." And obviously, there's a lot of rhetoric that is problematic. A lot of it is coming from one particular side and from one particular building. But what can be done? I fear when this is an escalation already in less than 24 hours of this shooting.
Yeah, I think historically presidents have looked for opportunities to bring people together. Right now we need a president that'll bring the country together and not try to further, divide us.
It's unbelievable, Don.
I mean, it's mind-blowing. I mean, that they can say that with a straight face after vilifying everyone, after Jen Psaki, who I believe was press secretary still when Joe Biden got before that demonic red platform and vilified over 50% of the country. These same people spewing the idea that white men are the greatest domestic terror threat. It's like, I don't know, guys. Like, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, it's the radical trans that have killed. It feels like they've done practically every mass shooting in America for the last few years, but we're not allowed to talk about it. It's those responses that are so tone deaf, that are so sick, that you realized the debate with the left is over. They've lost the debate. They're not even trying to debate anymore. So they have to basically resort to violence. That's all they have left to get what they want. And they've historically shown that. I mean, I've always said, I've been saying it forever, we need, and this is not an encouragement of violence, but we've been playing two different games. They have been playing hardball forever while we sit back and we play t-ball. And even so many of the Republicans on the right, you saw sort of Rand Paul's, who I like and agree with a lot of what he says. But when he was talking about, well, maybe we should have let those drug dealers on the high-speed, cigarette boat come into America and give them. I was like, no. These people, fentanyl kills 100,000 Americans a year.
They're coming to kill our young people.
Funded regime that does this. We have the intelligence. Maybe if they come to America and we let them sell a little bit of their goods, maybe, Megyn, they'll come around and see it our way. Was it Jen Psaki or the other press secretary? No. Trendall Aragua only took over a few buildings in Aurora, Colorado, and Austin, Texas. It's only a few buildings. Just let them have the buildings. These people are nuts, Megyn. They're imbecile. They're not serious people.
What is that leads me to this question. What's next? Because there's a lot of talk about is now a moment to reach out, have a kumbaya moment with the other side, lower the temperature. Is now a moment to step over the other side and forge forward without them? Just what you say, we're winning. Just complete the victory without them.
I'd love to do the former, but who is better at that or kinder in doing that than Charlie Kirk? And they killed him. I don't think it's possible. Again, you see it, the amount of normal people who aren't even political, who have they've hit a breaking point. They're not having these conversations on Twitter, I'm sure. They are sick of this crap. When my when my 12-year-old calls me, they killed Charlie Kirk. He's 12 years old. He found out before I could even call them and give them a heads up because they're seeing these things. My 6-year-old, my 18-year-old, all reaching out. And they're like, hey, man, we are so sick of this stuff. Now, maybe it's a little bit more personal to them because they know him. They knew Charlie, and they went through it twice with my father. I mean, I've had to, like I said earlier, I've had to deliver, sort of hard news to kids and try to explain stuff you should not have to explain to any kid 3 times now over the last, 14 months. That's not acceptable. And again, you see what they're saying. And I'm not just talking about blue sky and, that's truly deranged. But these are the people who were in the Biden White House on TV saying these things. You saw the guy that got fired. Luckily, he got fired. I'm actually shocked.
Matthew Dowd.
Yeah, Matthew Dowd. They'll bring him back in 3 weeks probably, but they have to do the obligatory thing because even the sickos there were like, okay, that's probably a little step too far. I mean, they're saying these things on regular television. So I would love for there to go back, but I think what we have to do is we have to plow forward with our ideas, reaching out to those who are not indoctrinated, who haven't been infected with the woke mind virus. Get those people. Let them watch it. I saw people saying, take down the video of what happened to Charlie. And trust me, and as someone who spoke to him every day for a decade, it was brutal to watch. But I think we have to watch it. I think we have to understand what they're capable of doing and what they will gladly do. It's not just Charlie. They'd go after anyone. They just don't know your name, maybe. Mm-hmm. They don't know you, so they don't know where to attack. But you think that if they'll try to take out a sitting president of the United States, if they'll try to and successfully take out Charlie Kirk, if they'll stab people on buses for no reason, you think like they're not coming for you eventually. It's a truly scary thought, and we have to start thinking that way.
When inflation jumps, when you hear the national debt is over $37 trillion, do you ever think maybe now would be a good time to buy some gold? Well, you'd be right. Whether as a hedge against inflation, peace of mind during global instability, or just for sensible diversification, Birch Gold Group believes every American should own physical gold. And so they created something special. Until September 30th, if you're a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 in free metals on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, request an info kit right now. Just text MK to 989898. Plus, Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and you're still eligible for a rebate in free metals of up to $10,000. So make right now your first time to buy gold and take advantage of a rebate up to $10,000 when you buy before September 30th. Text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility and get your free info kit. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.